What I think in the next 2 years, you're going to see the widest variation in targets, and you're going to see you're going to see some really big misses. I think that, potentially to either side. This is this is not a company where you can just count how many cars they're going to ship,
Yeah.
and and then all the variation you have to worry about is just ASP and volume. This is a whole new ball game with energy, with FSD revenue, with your potentially robotaxi revenue coming in, with licensing agreements we just talked about. I and supercharger, all these the sources of revenue for the company have grown immensely, and on the regulatory front too. The zero emission credits, those are going to continue. Those may actually ramp up even further.
Right.
Remember, a lot of these come from states. Trump is not the president of states; he's the
Right.
president of the United States. But and then a lot of these, ZEV credits, their origins are from Canada, European Union. Their restrictions are even growing. And if the restrictions are growing and the volume of EV production is not meaningfully, they're not adding a lot of capacity. A lot of automakers did their initial splash and said, "All right, we're going to make something," and they've consumed some of the available market of EVs. They pumped a bunch of stuff into inventory, but they're not following up in mass volume. They're not going from 200K a year to 500K to a million to 2 million. They're not outside of a couple of players like Hyundai and of course the Chinese players. A lot of people aren't adding volume, so I think the income and of course the high margins from regulatory credits are going to continue in the following year and significantly. And then you've talked about this a lot, Randy, just their battery production business. I think Tesla put the brakes on a lot of things, whether it was Mexico or other locations, and they're trying to bring in battery production and car production. If it's for the U.S. market, they're going to do it in the United States.
Mhm.
And we know they're increasing in Berlin. We know they're increasing in China. So I think this year is going to be very, very difficult to call. But I would definitely be. I don't have a price target per se because the market is extremely irrational. I know it's fun to put a number out there. I
Sure,
think it's
sure.
going to be higher than where it is today for sure. But the you know I think the market is definitely getting set up for what's next. It was definitely awakened with the election of like, wow, this overhang's been eliminated. And not only was the overhang of like, will the government come down on the CEO of the company and come down on the company itself, but it's the actual reverse. Like it seems like they're unburdened, to use a
Right.
term. And um and it's almost like it's going the opposite direction. And there's been rocket fuel poured, into this thing. And we just don't know where we just don't know where the sky is because we don't know where the limit is on this because the company is way beyond the point. If you look at the last two elections, even 2020, 2016, and what the company was building and what their sources of revenue were then, and how much did it matter, like who the president was? It didn't really matter as much. And now, when you've got these major transitions happening with a robotaxi, with Optimus, you really need that ability to work and influence government. So anyway, this should be interesting. And not only does Elon have outsized influence in the United States,
Mhm.
these world leaders all over, even before this election, he already had outsized influence. And now those world leaders know that he's traveling with the president. He's probably like, arguably, one of the top three most important people in politics in the world. And that also has outsized influence on his ability to negotiate on behalf of Tesla and to move things forward. So I, this one's going to be hard to, I think the next couple of years are going to be very, very difficult.